Welcome to season 2 of Dialog Choices Podcast.
What?
Surprise.
Season 2? Where did the season come from?
We passed 100 episodes, and I've hit a new format where we're a Q&A podcast because I realized I should just do a post on YouTube, and then people will ask questions,
that makes sense,
and that's way easier than helping anyone will actually email us, because that doesn't usually happen.
I like that. I like that.
I meant to make a new post this week, but I didn't. But the last post has like 20
okay.
questions, and we only got through like one of them. So, there's
Okay, let's rapid
You know
fire.
what? That's a good sign. That's a good sign.
Let's rapid fire the old one so you can make more posts.
Just going through these in chronological order. Would you rather have unlimited bacon but no more video games, or games unlimited games but no more games?
Well, that's easy. Bacon doesn't games are where life is. Bacon is just like death. You're killing the pigs.
I appreciate
I like bacon,
that
though.
you autofill it into making sense.
Yeah, me too.
Because the question made no sense.
It did.
No.
What do
No,
you
it
mean?
didn't.
I
No,
agree.
no, it didn't.
I agree. It's a very easy choice to pick unlimited games over unlimited bacon, and bacon just isn't that big of a deal. The question said, would you rather have unlimited bacon but no more video games, or games, unlimited games but no more games?
Oh, I see.
I don't know if it's a joke or a typo.
Well, if it is a joke, then I don't like these options. I would rather. I don't like unlimited games but no more games, because that's
Is
like.
there anyone?
No.
Is there anyone here that would quit video games for bacon? I don't think that's on the table.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Anyway,
no.
do you have any
And
media
besides,
that you initially didn't get the point of, or
Oh, that's easy. That's an easy answer. Yes.
initially didn't get the point or liked, but then tried it again and loved it?
Oh.
Yeah, Dark Souls.
Oh,
Kinda,
I got
yeah.
the point of Dark Souls.
I bounced off
I
of
started
Demon
late.
Souls back in the day until I tried to get Dark Souls again 2 years later, and then one of the big ones though was Mass Effect.
Mhm.
So I think usually the struggle here with video games, it's usually I bounce off something because it feels bad to play, and I don't like playing it. But then I'm drawn back in by everything else that it had going on, and I want to come back to that at some point. Because like Mass Effect seemed neat, but Gears of War was out already, and Mass Effect tries to play like Gears of War at first glance. So you play that tutorial mission on whatever the place where they do the Leroy Jenkins joke of all things. Weird start for your franchise. It's so weird. It's so that joke doesn't even scan that reference. It only makes sense to old WoW players that were already playing WoW for a decade before that game came. Well,
I never got that. I don't understand what the Leroy Jenkins situation.
Correction.
Oh.
I think
He's correct.
I think of WoW as being so old, but no. At the time, WoW was like 2 or 3 years old when Mass Effect came out, because Mass Effect is so fucking old.
Yeah, that's true. It was about 3. That's true.
There's an old WoW. It's unclear if it's a skit or if it's just a recorded moment or not, really. But it's like the oldest viral video for WoW, basically, where somebody's just giving their big boring explanation about how to do the next encounter in some dragon place.
It was a skit.
In the first
it wasn't
game.
like a
Yeah. And then this guy that's just sitting in the corner, just interrupts him midway through. He's like, "All right, let's do this, Leroy Jenkins," and goes in and just immediately aggroes everything and dies, and the entire party wipes. And there's a whole "goddamn it, Leroy" thing. He's like, "At least I had chicken," and this was like the most quotable, iconic shit 20 years ago.
Look, we didn't have memes growing up. Okay,
This was the meme. This was the meme.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. The memes lasted for a season. These days, the meme is out of date, out of fashion by the end of the afternoon. Let alone,
This was back when one reference would persist for years.
Yeah.
So 20 years ago, we did not have social media. The world was a much more sane place. We didn't go through things like memes were not consumable objects like they are today. As soon as a meme happens, it's consumed. It goes away. It's done. It's over.
That's such a bleak attitude or bleak perspective. But you're so right.
We must clear more memes with our meme laxatives so that we can consume more memes.
Well, that's the thing is that now that all social media is a for-profit industry. So every social interaction on the internet is for money. Now that it's like that, every meme is a consumable resource. You use it until you can no longer make money off of it. Then it goes away. That is how memes work in today's society. Where back then we had fun. We used to enjoy saying things because it made us laugh. And so, yeah, you had memes that were memorable.
Video games were permeated with memes, and you could put a meme in your video game because it would still be remembered by the time the game came out, even though they took years to make because of how long memes were.
Because the memes lasted. Yeah.
Like
but you're saying
like to this day, like nowadays, no one understands what the fuck the Torin dance is in WoW because it's peanut butter jelly time. But at the time, that was like that was like an enduring meme, the stupid dancing banana. So the cows dancing like that in that game was a reference that made sense to people back then. But now it's 20 years later, and everyone's like, "What's this dumb shimmy the cow does?" I don't understand. So at the beginning of Mass Effect, they do a bit of a Star Trek thing where you have a red shirt in your party. Your starting party is Ashley Williams and L. Jenkins.
Oh.
And then Leroy Jenkins dies in the first encounter of the entire game, and then you then find Caden elsewhere. No, your starting party is Caden and L. Jenkins, and you find Ashley on the planet, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
Ashley is just so much more interesting than Caden that she replaces other characters in my memory.
Okay, wait a second. Let's just be generous here. It's just Caden.
Yeah,
it's just Caden.
No one remembers Caden.
I was like, I remember the rest of the Mass Effect 1 cast. I don't remember Caden.
It's a competition between Caden and Jacob for most forgotten Mass Effect character.
Who's Jacob?
Who forgets?
Jacob's the second game's man.
Jacob, right.
It takes until the third game. It takes until the third game to have a human man people remember, and that's because he's just this like giant bodybuilder man.
Yeah, I can't forget because he doesn't
voiced
do
by
anything.
Freddie
Apparently,
Prinze
he has
Jr.
Doesn't he have like a DLC for the
Seth
first
Green?
game where it explains why he's so chummy with Shepard?
I don't think any of these characters have DLCs.
Jacob in particular. I thought so. I thought somebody told me that because he shows up like out of nowhere at the beginning of Mass Effect 2, and it's just like, yeah, sure, that's it. You don't get any backfill. Well, he doesn't show up out of nowhere. No, yeah. Jacob shows up because Shepard dies and gets abducted by Cerberus, and Miranda and Jacob are his Cerberus assigned squad mates that he causes to essentially defect over the course of the game. Mm-hmm. And Jacob is, but you're saying
just as boring as, like, it's like they forgot how to write a dude for some reason for all of Mass Effect. They'd always have a character that was just like the one human male, and they did not know what to do with them. And it's like they never had like a Canderous again or any like the fun characters from KOTOR. It's like they used to have a bunch of fun characters.
They did, yeah. KOTOR in particular has a bunch of
Mass Effect is so defined by every party member being like, I'm the Quarian and so on, that like when they had a human, they're like, I don't know what to do with this person. They couldn't even like, which is weird because their humans aren't our humans. It's not a modern game. They have like a whole crazy modern human society to explore and backfill and explain. So like you could do a lot with the human characters, but they just don't. People just remember Ashley because she's racist.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's Leroy Jenkins' joke. That's why there's a meme at the beginning of Mass Effect, and I caught it immediately when I played the game because I was a WoW player.
I thought we were talking about things that we didn't get and then fell in love.
No, he didn't. No, he didn't like Mass Effect originally. Like he played it and went, "This isn't."
Right.
Yeah,
yeah. He's
I
like,
did not get this reference.
I don't like the vibes.
I just mentioned it, and you were like, "What?" And like, okay, here we go. And we did the nested topic for a bit here. No, Mass Effect just plays like garbage.
Yeah, it's pretty.
In particular, it plays like garbage. Like nowadays, you go back and you're like, "Oh, it's an old video game like Alpha Protocol. They're expected to
Alpha
be
Protocol
shitty or whatever." Alpha Protocol is astronomically worse. Alpha Protocol is a game that I hated at first glance, put down immediately, then tried picking up 15 years later for a Let's Play, and still was like, this is unplayable. Why do people like this game? How did anyone ever put up with this game to like whatever the fuck they like about it? Because it plays like garbage every second. Alpha Protocol, on top of the fact that Alpha Protocol has that fucking stealth system that's completely unexplained, and more importantly has zero tangible feedback to make you understand what's happening, which is that if you wear any armor ever, you instantly turn the entire game into Call of Duty because every enemy aggroes across the entire map without having any kind of like Metal Gear Solid like inner feedback system to even indicate they're in the process of detecting you or anything. Like it has. It's a stealth game about spies that has no stealth systems. And people are like, oh, it's one of the coolest RPGs and blah, blah, blah. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? They didn't even do the bare minimum of like a Dishonored or a Metal Gear Solid of having a system of like, an escalating detection system so you can tell when you're being detected, so you have some sense of like how the systems work. It's just no, you either strip naked at the beginning of the game and you get to run around stealthing, or you wear one piece of body armor and everyone aggroes on you instantly across the whole map, like you've already fired a gun in Perfect Dark, and you just don't know that game, you have no reason to even think the game isn't ever not like that. You just think the game was always attacking you. Garbage video game. That game had no redemption. But no,
not even the story, honestly.
No,
unredeemable.
Really, pretty much everything about Alpha Protocol is really garbage, and you have to it's not even goggles. You have to like actively lie to yourself to convince yourself that it's like a really cool, deep, interesting game. Because like, the story is bad. Most of the dialogue is fucking QTEs. So you're just like, oh fuck, which one do I even pick a time? I don't even have time to read this. What am I doing? And like half the QTEs don't even make sense why it's a time limit, because it's just a normal conversation. Like, why am I getting jump scared and accidentally picking the wrong choice? But it's also Mass Effect, where you can't tell what the dialogue options say while you're doing it. Garbage video game. But the thing about that is that people play older games now and they're like, oh, this is normal for games to be bad back then. And I'm like, no, Gears of War was already out and had rock solid cover mechanics and shooting. It already happened.
It worked.
Mass Effect
it
was bad when it came out. It became my favorite game, but its shooting mechanics are really embarrassing for when it came out, especially being an Xbox exclusive that came out next to Gears of War and clearly gave itself cover mechanics because of Gears of War, because that's the reason why there was a wave of third-person shooters with cover mechanics, was because of Gears of War. So putting it next to Gears of War that not only had so much like cinematography to everything it did, like I don't mean like when people talk about like oh, it's a movie video game. I mean like running in Gears of War, chainsawing in Gears of War was all like cinematically framed and gritty, and like it had so much feel added to what it was doing. But also like when you did cover, you slammed into cover, and you very much like collided with cover, and there was a button for going into cover, and it had tangible feedback where you very much know you're in cover now, and it was very reliable and it felt good to play. Playing the first planet of Mass Effect, having played the game that it's clearly cribbing off of, it feels so bad. And on top of that, it's an Xbox 360. It's an early Xbox 360 game that came out before you could install games on the 360. So all of the textures are popping in like 10 seconds after each scene loads, because everyone forgets that's how Xbox 360 games used to be. You just were not able to, they weren't able to render their own games. So like,
well, let's not act like that's changed.
Like for like the first 3 years of Xbox 360, every single scene on so many games loaded in as like a weird clay model, and then all the textures would pop in later, over and over and over again. To the point where like when Mass Effect does its big climactic ending and it's trying to cut between like the people on the Normandy and the people in the council that you might be blowing up, and cutting to all these different action scenes, every single action scene is cutting so quickly it usually doesn't finish loading the textures before it cuts to somewhere else. So it's just everyone's just blurry. Like that's how the Mass Effect launched. It's extremely funny. Like it was like 3 years into the Xbox 360, I think, where they finally added the feature to install each game that you get, which is funny because that was supposed to be like, oh, stupid PlayStation gamers, you have to install your games. LOL. It's like PlayStation games worked. PlayStation games worked.
Okay, console war.
I am a PC pleb, so I don't know what load times are and all that shenanigans. I've always experienced.
You have to play cylindrical Frogger when you play Mass Effect.
Yes, I did. Wait, that's not a thing on the Xbox?
Nope, I've never played that before. What? I've only seen it in videos because I played it on Xbox. So for me, Mass Effect, you play Simon Says basically. You just do a long QTE every time you lockpick those things.
I think that's worse than the frog.
There's no good one.
No, of course it's mini games. Obviously,
they're all lockpicking mini games. They're torture.
It's obviously bad, but yeah.
It's like Mass Effect 2 where you have to look at the 500 code patterns and try to match their colors.
That was the worst.
It's like this is amusing twice.
That was so bad.
And you have to do it 70 times.
And like it just engenders you sort of like, oh, this happened. Okay, I'm gonna take a break and like go grab a glass of water or something. Because it's so like it literally takes you out of every like it just takes you out. It just takes you out. I even for a let's play, like it was so bad when I was doing my let's play of Mass Effect 2 that I just cut it out. That was I think one of the first times I cut out the mini games because I played. I think I was playing also Deus Ex Mankind Divided or the first new Deus Ex, and I kept all the mini games because I actually enjoy the mini game for Mankind Divided or the first new Deus Ex. I forget which title. It's because Human Revolution. It's Human Revolution that I'm talking about. Yeah,
I did also have that arc with Human Revolution. But yeah, I had the Yahtzee Crashaw experience with Demon Souls where I beat the first boss eventually, and it was a huge gauntlet. Then I get to the fucking like dragon wall that leads to the Tower Knight, and that was just like such a nightmare level leading to a nightmare boss for new Souls players that like I bounced off of that and didn't come back to it until I think after Dark Souls essentially. Mass Effect played like garbage, so I just put it down for a while, then brought it back. And Mass Effect universally does that to people. It's a miracle that game got sequels because when I became a Mass Effect evangelist, bleh, I kept loaning my collector's edition of Mass Effect out to people to get them to play it. And every single person that I ever loaned Mass Effect to got stuck on the Citadel. Like, people could not understand
like
how to continue in that game. Well, it's because it's part hub, part an absolutely massive sprawling area that has like 6 zones, and it's also a linear required story thing where you have to go to the right places in the right order like 8 times to finally finish the Citadel. So it is like a process. You are going to be there 4 hours. And these people aren't ready for Morrowind gameplay essentially, so they all got stuck on the Citadel and couldn't beat it. And that must have been a pretty universal problem with the audiences they were trying to target, because once again they gave the game Gears of War combat and so on. Because from then on, the Citadel is like 2 rooms in the sequels.
Yeah,
it'll be like here's a marketplace hallway. This is the Citadel. It's all you get to see of the Citadel in this game. It's because Shepard's undercover. And then like in the third game, you go to the Presidium again, but it's like one room of the Presidium instead of the entire Presidium.
Yeah,
they very noticeably never let you explore the Citadel ever again because that was very obviously a stumbling block for trying to court non-RPG fans to play their shooter franchise. So that's when they hyper committed to the entire franchise being a hallway.
I think the first game is better off for having the Citadel the way it is because you get to chill. Yeah, you get to chill and talk to all these different aliens that you're going to interact with for the rest of the game.
Yeah,
I mean not the characters specifically, but you get a little bit of lore dump. You got a little bit of different moods, different tones. I don't remember if there's side quests, but
there's a lot. There's a lot of side quests on the Citadel and a lot of characters to talk to.
Okay, yeah.
And yeah, when I first went in for my series before Andromeda came out, people got a face full of how much of a Mass Effect fan I am because I literally just like came out of the Citadel. I came out of the embassy suites at the beginning, turned left, talked to like an Elcor and Volus talking to each other, and then just talked about the intergalactic politics for like half an hour. Just like, look how fucking fascinating this all is, and like, how much is being set up here. I love this.
Yeah, it's all done on purpose with intention.
Yeah,
and not as a reference to something else. It's just this whole thing. I really like that, and Dragon Age was done the same way as well. And I mentioned Dragon Age because it was around the same time. but these sort of bespoke worlds that have depth to them.
Yeah, I also had a similar experience with Human Revolution where I played it at Andrew's house when it first came out. Like, I bought it to do a series on when we were first starting out at Let's Playing, and immediately was like, this game plays like garbage. And I just put it down for like 4 years.
You thought that? I thought from a stealth perspective or from an action perspective?
I don't know.
From just a game perspective.
It was 2012.
As a game.
Really?
I probably tried to play like Gears of War because it looks like Gears of War again. They were so dedicated to making games that were taking after Gears of War back then. It just felt bad gunplay 12 years ago, so I just dropped it.
I always felt that the gunplay in Human Revolution was great, and I felt always very weird about how good it was because I'm a stealth kind of guy. A level that can be beaten in 2 minutes because you shoot everybody, you can just spend 20 minutes doing stealth, and I'm like, why would I deprive myself of the 20 minutes of stealth gameplay? No, it's like cheating. No, it literally feels like that. Yeah, and I have the same problem with Dishonored, but yeah. I think, speaking of bespoke game worlds that have meat to them and are made with intent, Deus Ex Human Revolution does not have a bespoke world that has meat to them and intent.
Well, this isn't the question.
I know, but just
you're deviating.
My answer, I could come up with all sorts of games that I had a very. My problem is I don't get what everybody gets. Sometimes there's some games like Diablo, for example, Diablo 2. I played it as self-found single player, and that's not what the game is most popular for. And so I'm one of those players, one of those barbarian main self-found single player only. And there's some games that are like that where I have a peculiar experience. But I think for me, the best example, and the one that we could probably riff off a little bit, is Fallout 2 specifically. Fallout 2, I grew up playing. It was my first Fallout. I played it a little bit. I think I finished it before I even played. Yeah, I definitely finished it a bunch of times before I had Fallout 1, because I didn't have it for a while. And I grew up to love it because it's there's so much stuff to do. It's like a fully fledged RPG, and there's so much to find and so many quests that are hard to finish and even understand. And certainly as a non-native speaker, that was an extra barrier. But the actual barrier, or the thing that really stood in front of me, and I didn't see it all, is all of the references there. Because I hadn't watched Monty Python ever at the time. I hadn't seen Star Wars or all the other. Still haven't. But I hadn't seen any of the things that Fallout 2 references, because it's a game full of references and full of little in-jokes and things like that. To the point where, growing up, and certainly after I got into I had internet, every time I mentioned Fallout 2 and loving Fallout 2, people were like, "Oh yeah, all the references." Like, that was the main takeaway people had of Fallout 2, in my experience. Obviously, it isn't, but this was every time I reached out to somebody, they would, and if they liked the game, they would like it for the references and how funny the jokes were and whatever. And I just did not get a single one of the references. And as an example, to I think I've told the story already, but maybe not necessarily in this podcast. So hopefully not in this podcast. I'll tell you the story of one of those moments where I post cringe. Not cringe as in yikes, but cringe as in cringe. I was in a web forum about something unrelated to Fallout, and somebody said the line, wrote the line as a joke. I'm here to chew bubblegum and kick ass, or something to that extent. And I'm all out of bubblegum. And I replied, "Oh, nice, a fellow Fallout lover." That was my.
As a cringe, it's pretty funny actually.
No, because they didn't.
A really good way to trigger somebody.
What?
They're gonna get so mad about that.
They did not understand what I was even talking about.
Fallout? What?
They thought probably
played Fallout.
Yeah, they probably thought it was Fallout Boy or something instead of the game, because that's the other thing that inherited. Or that's the other thing. That's the other reaction I got whenever I mentioned Fallout. They would be like, "Oh, Fallout Boy, what's that?" So that was the cringe. Yeah, I was very embarrassed, and I looked it up. Why was this person mentioning this line that I remember so well from Fallout 2 if they didn't play Fallout 2? And that's, yeah, I didn't play Duke Nukem either. So that's why I don't know that line. Or any of the other lines. But I love Fallout 2 for its more for its for the mechanic. Actually, I would say I don't know if it's for the mechanics. I love the way the game interacts with its own art direction to build off of it. It's really interesting because Leonard Boyarsky went on to make his career is a bit hit and miss in for me, particularly because I love Vampire Bloodlines so much, the art direction in particular, and that's the same artist or the same lead artist. And what I love about Fallout 1 and 2 is that the game doesn't. You can tell, like, even though from a technological perspective, it's not it's a relatively limited game. Because it's a sprite-based 2D engine with fixed resolution, and it's clunky. The point and click mechanics are clunky, and single player or single character. Even though you have a party of companions that follow you, so it is a clunky game in a sense from a technological perspective, obviously. But all the I've always felt that all the quests and the world gel well with that clunkiness, and I don't think you look at Fallout 2 and you see a game that's trying to burst out of its seams and trying to be more than what the engine allows. And that is such a huge win for me as a I'm a web developer, so I make interfaces, but as an aspirant game designer, if I ever do that, it's like if I ever make a game, I want my game to be okay with its technical limitations, and not just okay. I want it to build off of them, which I feel Fallout does. In the way, some characters have talking heads and you see their faces, and other characters you don't, and those characters are written very differently because it's on purpose, right? You meet, for example, I forget her, Janet. She's the first citizen of Vault City, and you meet her, and so much of her characterization is based on the acting. Obviously, the lines also carry it, but you can see what her character is by her expressions, the way she reacts to you, and obviously what she says. But it's how she says it as well. And this happens over and over again with the talking heads. They're all very unique, very special. It's as if they saved the talking head. Well, it is what happened is they saved the talking heads to the characters they wanted to write, that the writing alone couldn't carry what they wanted. And so, and even though I think the one exception to that is what's his name, John Cassidy, his Rose's father from Rose from Fallout New Vegas. His character is actually, I think, the only one that deserved a talking head, and in fact, I believe they wanted a talking head for him as well, and they just didn't have the time to do that. But all the other characters, because you interact with so many other people, they're written like text only characters, so you can get the fullness of their characters just from the text, and then they take advantage of the talking heads when the time comes. And it happens with exploration, with combat, and even the items that you find, you don't get too much of them, but it's like a prototype of what Dark Souls eventually ended up doing, where you find a random item in the middle of nowhere, and the item description gives you a little bit of a tidbit of what the world is like. And Fallout does that a little bit as well. Fallout 2 in particular does that a little bit, not too much. Fallout 1 was not as much. It was a little bit more utilitarian when it came to atomization. But still, yeah, Fallout 2 never got the references, but I also don't love it for the references. I just love it for all the other things. So okay. I don't know if that answers the question, because it's not the perfect example, but it's my example.
I don't remember what the question was.
Something that you encountered that you didn't like or get or whatever, and then you later grew to appreciate it and understand it and so on.
Gotcha. Okay.
Which you said Dark Souls for. We all defaulted to video games, but honestly,
any media.
I struggle to come up with examples that aren't video games, because video games are things where you bounce off them for one reason but are attracted to them for other reasons, and we're also like immersed
You can do
in
any
gaming.
media.
And but like we're all like immersed in gaming stuff, and like gaming also has such diverse reasons to like and dislike the same thing that kind of thing can happen. But like if I just like don't like a thing, like a show, I just stop watching it. And that's just pretty much it. And it's like, why would I go back to it if it didn't seem good? There's a million other things to watch. And like,
okay,
the people in my immediate vicinity that would most frequently, you'd even talk about stuff, are people that I don't like respect the opinions of, like my housemates, like my housemates and like my parents and things like that. Like, so it's like they're not gonna like rope me back into a thing and be like, oh no, you just didn't get it. Like, it's actually like really interesting if you look at it this way or whatever. It's like they're gonna be like, I didn't like when they killed this character in Walking Dead, and I'm like, cool, good talk. That's the level of conversation I'm used to having about media. So it's like there's no system for getting me to like come back and get interested in something that I initially didn't care about. So that's why I only talked about video game examples, really. All right, go. Dark Souls. I made you like it at gunpoint.
Oh, why do I like it now? I mean, the obvious thing was when I played it the first time, it was the first time I had experienced a game of that caliber. Up until that point, most games that were unforgiving tended to be unforgiving due to like particularities with like a system or a time. You know, like if you're playing Contra or whatever, it's difficult because Contra's kind of just an ass game to play. Like everything about Contra is built to make you suffer. Enemy placement, layout design, things like that are things you expect from such older games because there was limitations, or it was rushed, or it was just quarter munching. Right? There was this incentive to make you stuck to play a game, but as games went by, that became less important. It became more about narratives and mechanics and things like that. Dark Souls is like everything in one. It has a narrative telling you. It has a lot of mechanics it wants you to learn and share with you. And also, it is just unforgivably hard if you have never experienced a game like it before. If you've never played a third-person RPG where you need to change your gear and not get hit. And so, yeah, it's just the culmination of that. In my first experience of it being through the Let's Play, it just didn't rub me in any particular way, and I never really gave it a fair shake by myself. And once I did, then the primal part of my brain that tells me like, oh, I need to be good. I need to be better than these enemies. Then that took over, and now that's the method of playing the game is just, yeah, I like it because I get to go around and like really difficult enemies, I can just hit them really hard and they die. And it's fun watching all the cutscenes come up for some enemy and you just kind of like 3-shot them. You're like, oh, wow, that was funny. Thanks for that. But yeah, nothing deeper than that. I am very consistent through Souls games. I am always a high strength, big Unga Bunga build. Just gonna hit you with the biggest weapon possible and do it 3 times.
You are lucky because From Software loves people who play like you do. If you were a dexterity roll only build, you would be in such trouble.
I mean, I think that's the other thing that's kind of okay about it is that you do get that variety. I think it's nice that you can just play that way. You can just walk around and go like, I want to swing 2 weapons and be a crazy person. And the game just kind of facilitates that. It's really nice in that regard.
Well, it facilitates your build, but it doesn't always. I think particularly Elden Ring is you'll be. It's less varied when it comes to weapon only builds. You really need to use certain tools like the weapon arts and things like that if you're gonna have like a double stock kind of build or something like that, which I had on my first playthrough. You need to have like the OP weapon arts, or at least weapon arts that are good, because otherwise it's very difficult.
I'll take your word for it. I just bonked everything until it died.
You did. It was absurd, especially on the 1.3 version, because I think that's when you started playing. Or did you start playing on release?
I started playing on release. I played.
Okay.
Upon release.
I saw your Let's Play. It was just like I was having so much trouble against certain enemies, and you were just like bonk, bonk. That's them gone. Yeah. Just flatten everything.
I think that we shared our start with Dark Souls. I played Demon Souls a couple years before that, but a little bit before that. But we tried to do a blind Let's Play of Dark Souls as our first Let's Play in 2011.
We tried twice.
Ballsy.
We made a few attempts, like the original one. That was the original one where we're like, yes, we're getting just obliterated by everything throughout the asylum and so on, and all the possible dumb deaths that could happen were happening. And it was goofy and amusing, but also like, what the fuck is this? Because you've never seen a game like that to some extent. And that was the playthrough where we didn't find the upper end. We didn't find the lower end Edberg, upper end Edberg. I guess just the undead Berg, because the other whatever. You didn't find the correct place, so
we went
instead
to the ghosts.
We went. Well, eventually, what we did first is we looked at the big shape of the ruins you start in, and there's a big archway. So we went to the big archway, and that leads to the graveyard. And we're like, look at this graveyard. Oh, you follow these things. Oh, they're all getting back up. We better run past them. And then you run past them, and things just keep getting worse the deeper you go into the catacombs. Like, this isn't tenable. But the reputation was that the game was hard. So we were like, oh, I guess that's just what they do. It's just the enemies just get back up. Wow, dick move. But then we eventually found the staircase that goes down, and so we took the elevator and we ended up in the fucking New Londo ruins. And so now it's like, oh, now instead of enemies that get back up, it's enemies you can't hit unless you use we did find the item you can use to give yourself the ability to temporarily hit them. And so we're like, okay, so we have a limited currency. It's like a survival horror game. But then those run out. So you're like, geez, you just run out of the thing that lets you hit the guys? What the fuck is this game? And it was legitimately like, I think it was either several hours in or the second day of playing that we finally found the one not very visible like walkway that goes up a winding cliff that leads you to the actual starting zone. At which point that's like hilarious. You're like, oh, we're back to just fighting the guys from the tutorial again. They're just, sometimes they have a spear. Oh. But no, but like that session is why the first level is like burned in my brain, because we spent so fucking long trying to kill the Taurus demon.
Yeah.
In part because on top of the boss being really hard for someone that's not used to these games, just the entire zone leading up to it is a gauntlet of enemies and traps and things you have to do every single time, as opposed to like Elden Ring fans are so spoiled nowadays with how you usually just spawn by the boss. Like they so consistently just put a stake of America there so you can infinitely try the boss, and it's like, that's not how this all started. They used to just be mean to you.
But I also think I was talking to Toaster about this the other day. I don't think I have evolved my my opinion. So if he's listening, which he's not, but if he's listening, he'll be upset at me again. I think the bosses of Dark Souls are not, usually are not serving the same purpose as most of the bosses in Elden Ring, and I would say perhaps even most of the bosses in Dark Souls 3. In Dark Souls, they still had the sort of Demon Souls-esque attitude of, you have this huge gauntlet that you go through, and then at the end there's a big challenge. So you have to be pretty good through the gauntlet, and at the end you have the remaining flasks of thing, and try to, you need to be of Hestus flasks, and you need to beat the boss with that.
I mean, Demon Souls just straight up had a design that no other game they've ever made does, which is that it's an old school Mega Man level where you have to do the entire level in one go, and the boss is capping off of the resources and stuff you had, which is part of why the bosses are easier, because they're not going to hit you with fucking like Fume Night after you had to play a 10-minute level every time.
Yeah, exactly. But in Elden Ring, they just like
hilariously easy now after having to deal with Elden Ring.
No, Fume Night is super difficult. I had a lot of trouble with it, but that's me. Maybe that's my build as well. But that's what I'm saying. In the Elden Ring, they're like, okay, every boss is going to be the showstopper situation, but then they also had an open world. It is very exhausting. I agree.
I still like these games, but they did not. They stopped. There was a timeline where they could have been what I wanted the series to be, and they didn't do that. And I'm just kind of bummed out. Like I missed the Dark Souls 2 timeline. We got the Bloodborne timeline, and the Bloodborne timeline's fine, but it's exhausting because even in Bloodborne, it was like, okay, every 4 hours you encounter a nightmare boss, and you really have to grind to figure out how to beat it. But now there's like the hardest boss of Bloodborne every 40 minutes in Elden Ring. You're like, please, please. It's not fun anymore when it's not like a big capstone fight. Like it's one thing when the penultimate boss is a big nightmare gauntlet, and then of course the final boss is always underwhelming because they do it basically as a bit in these games where the final boss is always a sad like mummy of a king or something. And then each DLC will end with the hardest boss you fought so far and so on, and like that was fine, but. This approach where you're just like exhausted all the time because every minor dungeon that's nothing and you don't even have narrative context, and you basically just optionally walked over here, still has a nightmare boss at the end. You're like, please stop, because Dark Souls 2 is just so much more gimmicky and goofy in a way that is way more coherent with how Demon Souls and Dark Souls 1 were, and Dark Souls 3, Bloodborne, Sekiro, and Elden Ring. There's a split there that's extremely noticeable where they became all about the challenge and about the dodge rolling and about this really tight move sets and everything. Whereas it's actually really funny looking back and thinking about how people thought that Dark Souls 2 was like some kind of betrayal at the time for being full of these like, it's just every guy with the sword over and over again, even though it's not. And like they acted like Dark Souls 2 was just a challenge gauntlet by comparison. Because when you looked at the series now, Dark Souls 2 is very much in the line with the first two games, and the later games that split off so much more, hitting you with like the dancers and all these other nightmares in Dark Souls 3. Like Dark Souls 2 is like, there's a funny guy who's two guys, and he's in his pirate ship, and you attack him and he swings his sword at you, but you go behind him and he swings his other swords at you because he's two guys. And like the fucking covetous demon that swallows you and takes all your armor off, and like all this really stupid shit, because that's like what things were like. And like for me, I like Dark Souls because you explore, and also because you have to pay attention the whole time, and you're like expected to like figure out what to do and how to solve problems and how to like overcome bosses. And that back then was in line with Zelda. Like, yeah, Zelda bosses are bosses where you can't just button mash your way through the fight for most of the time, and you generally have to like find the solution to the fight. And like that's what the design philosophy was. That's why there's all these gimmicky boss fights, like even the not very good boss fight in Demon Souls, the Adjudicator, where you're supposed to realize it has a blade sticking out of its belly, and that like makes it take massive damage compared to the rest of it taking basically no damage, and so on. Like that was so much of the core of the games until Artorias kind of ruined the franchise a little bit by being so cool, and everyone talked about how cool he was. But then everything became Artorias. Kind of like how Star Wars had like no Jedi in it, but then people liked the Jedi so much, so they made Star Wars be all about Jedi all the time in prequels and sequels and so on. So it's like Jedi saturation. They're no longer like a weird rare thing that was really cool from it, made cool by its rarity. But like there's a cool video I watched by Limit Breakers that is just about all the things that Dark Souls 2 did that are just weird mechanics that never came back again. Like the entire forest of invisible people. And in the invisible forest people, there's screaming trees, and if you hit a screaming tree, the invisible people will run over to attack the screaming tree and that'll distract them, and you can like run away and use that as the distraction. Or like all of the petrified people, and you get a currency of like petrified fragrant branches of yore, which will like unpetrify people, which are like small keys in Zelda essentially. And like how Dark Souls 2 put so much emphasis on exploration that it got rid of the humanity system and then gave you two separate items that upgraded both separately the quantity and healing amount of your flask, and then you had to separately find both of those through exploration, incentivizing it further. And like the fact that your torch became this like gimmicky dungeon item where so many dungeons let you interact with it via the torch to either light up the place itself or physically transform the level in some way, like burning things down in ways that would like change future fights. Like you could light up the Lost Sinner arena with torches, making it so that your lock-on worked correctly, and you could, and famously poorly telegraphed, you could burn down the windmill to get rid of the poison arena in the Medusa. Like these are like extremely funny Zelda-y things going on here. It's a lot of fun. The Drake level, the fucking cool ancient dragon level that ends with the bad ancient dragon fight. That whole area is full of eggs, and if you avoid the eggs, you don't have to fight any of the big dragons. But if you break the eggs, the local dragon wakes up and starts attacking you. And if you break X number of eggs in the overall level, a dragon rips the bridge up when you're walking across it and kills you. Like there's specifically like this, like there was like gimmicks in each level, and like one of the most overt ones where they really just yelled at you, "We're doing Zelda in this game," was when the first DLC, Sunken King, had arrow puzzles. You had to pull out a bow and shoot stone eye buttons to make things happen and move around in the level, like in Zelda.
Oh yeah,
like they were explicit at that point. They were just they were just like telling you what they were doing by being like, "Hey, look, you're shooting stone buttons with a bow in a puzzly way, like in Zelda. Get it? Get the thing we're doing?" And it was fun. Yeah. Like the torch was like people act like the torch was gimped because the lighting engine wasn't as good as the trailer and stuff. And I'm like, bro, you light your way through all of the gutter, you burn the poison windmill, you light up the Sinner arena, the Cloverfield monsters in the Pirate Cove run from your torch, and like the infamous spider trap that everyone makes such a big deal about. Because that attracts all the spiders, and you're like, this isn't fair, this game's cheating. If your torch is out, which is reasonable for a dark level, all the spiders are afraid of your torch and they don't attack you. Like it's a really
good. I didn't know that.
It's a really interesting game with 500 neat little things going on, and then everything else is just like, it feels like the personality was lost a bit when they didn't do most of the stuff ever again. And like, imagine if Elden Ring was full of weird interactions like on this kind of level. Like that'd be kind of cool. Like if they still had this personality while being this much of an open game.
That would actually, that would make a lot more sense for them, because they have such a big problem with the reusing the same tile sets and the same monsters, the same bosses and stuff.
Yeah, Dark Souls 2 really does specifically represent like a split in the franchise where if people weren't so weird about it, it has this like almost like Last Jedi vibe to it, where you're like, if people didn't weirdly backlash this the way they did, the franchise probably wouldn't have like auto-corrected the most boring way possible. Because like Dark Souls 3 is not a bad game, but even at the time, everyone was like, is this game just pandering to specifically Dark Souls 1 fans? Like, in really specific nostalgic ways, like in a kind of embarrassing way.
That's what you asked for.
Like it
Why
has
are you upset?
Like people like both at launch and now are like, doesn't Dark Souls 3 kind of like lack an identity? It's kind of weird how it's like it's good. They didn't like not try, but you're also like, it feels like they were like, oh fuck, and panicked, and were specifically like, let's give them constant visual reference to things that make them happy. We'll go back to Anorlando. Anorlando's back, guys. You like Anorlando? Oh,
yeah, pretty much.
The maybe trans spellcaster is back. It's covered in slugs.
Oh no, not slugs.
But anyway.
No, wait. Isn't the slug that ate that ate
Gwendolyn? A parasite is like puppeting Gwendolyn around, yeah. At the end of the Anorlando zone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, all the games are good. People confuse me whenever I complain about stuff, but I'm like, every From Software Souls-like is good, but there's just things I don't like in all of them to some extent, and like Elden Ring just wears me out. Like I've been thinking throughout this new DLC where I'm like, I'll fight a boss like the Frenzied Flame or the Putrescent Knight and so on, and be like, you know, it is kind of cool that I actually learned the moveset and overcame, and like I didn't have a summon and so on, and this fight felt alright to do. But then like you'll have another crushingly difficult boss 20 minutes later again. You're like, I can't do this whole. I can't have this whole.
Please.
I can't. experience character growth every 20 minutes. Like I can't do it this often. It's exhausting. I need to kind of cheese and pub stomp a few of these every now and then and be like, oh man, I summoned this random NPC I half understand and also a mimic tier, and I spammed my weapon art and tried to get it killed that way because I just can't have this character arc every time. It's so exhausting. Why does this game have 500 bosses that expect this much from me? Why isn't there a covetous demon every now and then just to be a funny little guy?
Where's my funny little guys?
Where's my funny little guys?
Dark Souls needs more funny little guys.
Even Dark Souls 3 still had the weapon fight. The weapon fight. Because they have weapon fights. Fight? Yeah.
What do
the
you mean
gimmick weapon fight. Because Demon Souls has the fight against the giant moth, and or the manta ray thing, and you fight it with the wind blade, and they bring back the wind blade to fight Yorm, I think it was called. It's like you and I think Siegmeyer, and you grab up Yorm, and I think Siegmeyer can also have the wind blade, and then like
he does.
You just both pummeling him down. You're like, this seems unfair.
Well, that's the gimmick fight. I think the gimmickest fight of Dark Souls 3. I would say.
It's almost
and
funny
I think
at
it's
that
okay
point.
Because when they did it in Elden Ring, you're by yourself and the weapon is not upgraded, and if you have the wrong build, which is very likely, the weapon won't do any amount of damage. And you just die.
Yeah.
And also, it's a very hard fight.
Elden
Ring, if you have everything.
Elden Ring could use more Radons and Renalas.
Radon and Renala?
Yeah. Renala's the mage fight.
Yeah.
You fight a bunch of goobers, and then she fights you at the eclipse of the moon, shooting wacky spells at you. And then Radon, you just summon 100 million people to fight him. And people technically fight him without that, but I mean they did that to themselves.
I did that to myself, but not on the release version, because apparently Radon was broken hard on release. But I beat him the first time. I beat him without summons. I recently beat him with summons, and I just didn't even fight him. Just summons went up and killed him, and I was like, "This is all right. I appreciate this. Yes." It's not exciting, but it's a thing. It's a moment.
You're not exciting.
It's a thing.
Yeah, the game has a thing. It did a thing.
Summoning a billion people against Radon is super exciting. It's the Radon Festival. Get festive. Nerd.
Yeah, but one of them is
nothing's more festive and he runs
away.
That's even better.
Nothing's more festive.
That is actually
that's hilarious. That's hilarious that you can summon Patches and then you look around and be like, where is Patches though? And you'll see the message saying Patches has like fled the fight or whatever. Like
he's returned to his home world or whatever.
Yeah, the disconnected from your world message.
That's the best part.
Yeah, no, that's incredible. That's storytelling in the middle of a big dumb boss fight. I love that the Radon Festival is a character beat for both of the best NPCs. Because you have Patches runs away from you, and then both Blythe and Alexander, like that's an important like bit of the story for both of them. And it's like, and they're both there. I love that they all come together. It feels more like those characters in a Souls game than there often is, because they're often so missable and kind of hard to even wrangle narratively.
Yeah. They're isolated, I think, more than anything. All Souls characters tend to be... They don't interact. Their quests don't interact with each other very well. When they do it, so usually, you did this quest halfway through? Oh, it broke the other one that wasn't even related. That's it. Or something. But in Dark Souls, in Elden Ring, it's hard to get to a point where you don't have a way to go back and like look at a guide and see, okay, this person is supposed to be here. So I'll go there to an area that you haven't been to in weeks, and they're waiting for you.
Remember, Dark Souls 2 is also one of their attempts to be like, no, seriously, we didn't put these summons in our games as a joke, or like you're supposed to use them, because somewhat controversially in Dark Souls 2, you needed to summon the NPCs to do their stories.
That's right.
There was multiple.
There
was a series of NPCs throughout that game that had like 4 places they could be summoned, I think, and you need to use like 3 of them in order to complete their story arcs, and then that's how you like did their narratives and stuff. There was a lot going on that.
And if they die in fight, they die in real life.
They die in the game, they die for real.
Oh my god, they do?
I don't think so. I think you can just keep summoning them.
Yeah,
is it imagining. True? Or is it Dark? Is it Dark Souls 1 that happens?
I mean, Dark Souls 1 did happen. If that's what you're asking.
No. I thought there was a place where, well, there's obviously the Onion Knight fight against the.
In Dark Souls 1, if there's in Dark Souls 1, and especially in Demon Souls, mostly in Demon Souls, but yeah, Dark Souls 1 has Siegmeyer or Siegward. I mixed them up with each other. Yeah. In a pit full of blender monsters, and if you don't save him in that fight, which is hard because he's like in a poison pit surrounded by monsters, if you don't save him in that fight, then his story ends because he just actually dies. And then Dark Souls 1 has multiple encounters with like Ostrava, I think, or whatever his name is, the prince, and some other characters where like if you're in the overworld, then and an NPC is there and in danger, then they can die permanently. But you, generally speaking, if they help you during a boss fight, even if they do die, they usually just come back every subsequent boss fight. In Demon Souls, you would earn people helping you in fights usually, and then they would just show up each time automatically once you fulfilled the requirements. Like I think Ostrava helped you with the penetrate. No, the big knight guy helped you with the penetrator, and I don't think you summoned him. I think you just had to like do the right stuff to unlock him or something, but I forget. There's a lot of nuance to these games. There's
I like that
so
system.
many of the mechanics change between the games.
I like the system where, you know, it's a little bit like Siegward in Dark Souls 3, where he shows up if like you don't summon him, he just shows up to the fight. So it really feels like if you're going for a run where you want to beat that boss without him, you're doing a challenge run, which some people see no summon playthroughs as. You know, some people see that as a challenge run, and I think if the game was a little bit more, if it were a little bit harder to not summon, basically from a mechanics perspective, not from, you know, it's obviously harder to not summon because the boss is harder, but up to that point, it's a lot easier to just not summon. You miss the summon sign, or you never interact with the character, or you just literally don't look at it and don't do anything. It's a lot easier to just enter the boss. And if it were the other way around, if you had to dismiss the summons instead of summoning them, then I think people would be a lot less controversy regarding the real way to experience the bosses. And
if you had to go out of your way to not have summons, yeah.
Because I think particularly, well, not all bosses, but there are some bosses that are just made absolutely trivial. But maybe that's just, you know, they're made trivial. But what does that mean if they're made trivial? Maybe they were meant to be trivial, and just, you know, that not summoning makes them impossible. Like it
would flip the conversation if the default was having a summon and you had to actively remove the summon, because then it'd be like, and it wouldn't be that it was made trivial. It's like, oh, that's how the fight works. And you're like, what are you doing? Why are you doing it that way? You'd be the equivalent of the guy who doesn't understand what item to use against a Zelda boss. Like, well, I don't know, is he dumb? As opposed to, because like it flips the conversation instantly, contextually.
And it's just funny you mentioned items. I think I don't know if it was this week or last week. Because I'm playing Elden Ring by myself when I have a little bit of time to chillax and just summon and see what the game is like without trying to do it all by myself with a build that I want. And I beat Moog, and I am like level 120, something like that, with a bleed build and the Mimic tier, fully upgraded. And I beat Moog. I died to him twice because I was trying to figure out how the freaking item that prevents him from damaging you works, and I did not figure it out. And I was like, fuck that, I'll use the SS Flask instead. And I just used the SS Flask instead of the item and just beat him on my first try because I was doing the Mimic tier. Not my first try, but at the time I wanted to acknowledge that I'm not going to use the item. So I had the item, I could not figure out. I don't understand. It's not unreasonable. It is. I think it's unreasonable for people to play Zelda games and not use the items that the game clearly telegraphs, and not telegraphs, even tells you to use on certain places. But for Elden Ring, no, I think it's totally reasonable for people to not know that you have like this little, what is Margit? The Margit's shackle. When I found the Margit's shackle, it said it roots Margit to the ground, or no. Let me actually look it up because my reaction. Do you know the one that I'm talking about?
It's a piece of Margaret that can be used to bind somebody in a particular space for a certain amount of time.
So it's Margaret's shackle, and the description is a fetish bathed in golden magic. Shackles were used to bind the accursed people. The accursed people called the omen, and these ones were made to keep a particular omen under. Oh fuck! I had to read the. How did I? My reaction was like, "What is a Margit?" Because I'd never seen that word ever. Yeah, I did not know what a Margit was, and I didn't even. I don't like. I've never looked at the bosses' names when I fight them. So even when I was fighting bosses,
I mean that would contribute.
I didn't even but he wouldn't contribute because by the time you get the shackle, you get it before the fight, or I got it anyway. And so it's like
Margit or Morgot. They're the same person,
same
of
fight,
course.
just recycled. But still, I don't know what the shackle does. I don't understand what Mog's shackle does either. I was using it. I used it a bunch of times just to get killed. That does damage anyway. So I don't know if I'm missing something.
Yeah, I've never actually tried using it during the boss fight.
Just heal through the thing. It's easy. I mean, it's not. It's a very difficult fight.
Yeah, it's easy.
Honestly, it's a fun fight.
Right, I never tried using Margaret's shackle during that fight because I don't remember if I even found it. But specifically, I was struggling with Moog for an afternoon when I first encountered him, and when I was trying to figure out what the trick to the fight was, because obviously when you encounter that weird mechanic where you're getting obliterated, you Google that. And you're like, what the fuck is this?
I didn't.
And I Googled to figure out what the fuck's happening. Because I'm like, how do you? Because you do a couple of times, and you're like, okay, I can't outrange it, I can't interrupt it. What the fuck's happening? And then you finally find out, like, oh, there's an item that magically interrupts it, and you have to have that item already, having encountered it completely elsewhere in the game. And I looked up how to get that item, and it's like, oh, I literally can't.
Oh, you couldn't at the time? Oh.
I was literally already locked out permanently from getting that item. I don't remember how you get it anymore, but you can lose the ability to get it. So I was fucked. So I'm like, yep, just gotta heal through it every time. Okay, that's great news for a fight I'm struggling against. I was having trouble.
I understand how to use it. I put it in my thing and I use it. My character did a punch the floor before. Like Margaret did not. Oh, wait a minute! I'm realizing. I think I know how to use it. I just didn't think because it's so much easier just to heal through. I think you need to be on top of Moog and use that because it's like of an AoE around you. So it's not like a magic item that you use it and he gets affected. No. It's an attack weapon. You need to go up to him and use it as he's doing the whatever he's saying.
I have no idea. I've never seen it used.
Yeah,
I found zero value in it. I can just hit him twice and he's fine.
If you have a blade build, he actually dies. He just dies. He dies during the animation if you attack him. So, yeah.
All right, next question. What do we got?
Next question, yeah, we have rambled.
Did everyone answer it? I don't remember.
Yeah, oh yeah, we answered.
Yeah.
We're still talking about the same second question, right?
Maybe, probably, yeah. What's your favorite bird?
Yeah. Catcher.
Oh, that's an interesting thing.
I just liked red-tailed hawks because Animorphs.
Woodpeckers because they exist to annoy people.
They exist to eat little
grubs.
Bugs. That's what
little guys.
Yeah, but how does it eat grubs? How does it eat?
What is its
only way of sustaining itself? Yeah, by being annoying. It has to piss off everything in a vicinity by throwing its head into a tree to eat food.
It's the most relatable thing Andrew can think of, a sound hazard.
Yeah. Could you imagine eating food and yelling while you're doing it? Everyone would hate you. That is a woodpecker. That's the equivalent. You're just yelling while
yelling and eating
all the time. Yeah. You know a woodpecker's around. Like it's not stealthy. It's not secret.
No.
You can't be like, oh, I didn't hear it coming. It's like, oh no, you did.
Mm-hmm.
But they also look nice. They have like really nice color plumage because they got like the red, white, and black going on.
I've seen a woodpecker. They're not. Let me see. European woodpecker.
They got like red afros. What are you talking about?
It's a red runner. Wait.
Yours are very colorful. They're very pretty.
Are yours lame and dumb?
Europeans are fine too. Europeans also have red mohawks. I mean, granted, they're not mohawks. They're more like red. Actually, yeah, they're more like red comb overs. But
I found a picture of a blue woodpecker in particular, or great spotted woodpecker. This is the ones that I'm used to, I think. No, or at least that's what I think when I think of a woodpecker.
I was gonna say, I think your guys' are like green. Ours are like white, black, and red.
I don't think I've ever seen a green one.
Oh, let's see. There's a woodpeckers of the world. Okay. Either way, what's your favorite?
Of course, there's a community around woodpeckers. They make noise while they eat. Andrew would fit right in. My favorite bird. I don't really have a favorite bird. I think I don't have much experience with birds.
So for bird heads, just as a heads up, my favorite is the Dryocopus pilatus.
What?
Pilatus?
Exactly.
You mean?
I don't know. It's Pileatus. Pilatus.
No, I don't know how to pronounce that.
Whatever. That version. That's the bird.
I think I like stuff like falcons and like rapin.
You like
rapin?
You like prey birds?
Prey birds. That's what it is. Yeah.
Eating other birds.
Yeah. I like.
You like cannibal birds? I can't believe this shit. You guys are disgusting.
That's what I like the way they look. Not necessarily. I'm not a bird person, so I don't know. I don't have interactions with them, but they look cool. So you know.
I mean, you don't have to. You're not like running for office. You don't have to worry. No one's going to cancel you for having interactions with hawks.
I can't believe you don't like the Eagles. Canceled.
The band of the Eagles.
You don't like Eagles? As an American, this offends me.
Eagles.
Look, your eagle isn't even an eagle. It's a falcon.
What? Excuse me?
The American bald eagle is a falcon. American bald. Isn't that true?
I don't know.
Or is it the one in the flag? That's not an eagle.
I have no idea.
They're both eagles.
There's no American.
The one in the
flag. There's no eagle in the flag. What am I talking about?
I don't know what video essay you watched. That's spurring this thought.
Yeah, I saw somewhere that there's a thing Americans call eagle that is an eagle by name, but isn't actually part of the genus for eagles.
Yeah, bald eagle is a white-tailed eagle.
It looks like it is, yes. So maybe I'm thinking of a different one. And also, it's not bald. So I don't understand you guys. You need to get some glasses.
That white plumage is just representation of skin color. So it's a white bird with no hair.
I don't even
it's a
think
white-headed
about the bald eagle.
No. See, the head, all the plumage on the head is its skin. So it's white with no hair. It looks just like our founding fathers.
Can't disagree.
Honestly,
all of our founding fathers were bald and wore wigs, and they all had really ugly faces. So it's a bald eagle.
The Wikipedia page is protected because, of course, it is.
But yeah, because I keep editing it and telling it they look like our founding fathers, and they get really annoyed about that.
Yeah, the Second Amendment people keep showing up and be like, "Rrr." And then they have to protect it.
Apparently, there's a bald eagle that's going around hurting people, just like our founding father.
There you go.
That's funny though. It is actually going around like, and the city had to announce alert. Watch out for the eagle. Jesus, this is a fucking mastermind. Like, what's going on here?
Mm-hmm.
Multiple eagle attacks. What would you do if you got attacked by an eagle? Yeah, like what the fuck?
No, it's bad. Don't get attacked by falcons and things.
Multiple people have needed stitches?
Yeah.
What the fuck?
They're flying creatures covered in knives.
They have knives for feet. That's what they have.
But let me posit
Actually,
you
the
this.
eagles have
It's got 2 feet, and they are very grippable.
They don't have talons.
Like, and they don't have like fingers. They don't have like actual. I don't know. Like, what else could an eagle do if you grabbed its feet? Well, it can't fly away.
It becks you.
Well, okay.
Yeah,
but
it has weapons on both ends.
Yeah.
Nah,
and it twists. And it twists around.
I can headbutt perfectly fine an eagle.
Look, that thing, you can headbutt it. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't have a brain. It's a bird. It's like they can't have too much brain mass, otherwise it doesn't fly.
It's too heavy. Okay.
It can't have too heavy of a brain or it won't fly.
Yeah. It's like dragons or something.
What the fuck are you saying?
I want to... dragons aren't real.
Why are you doing this to my brain?
Look, because I'm not a bird person. I don't understand. This bird would be here and correct me if he knew. If he were here, I should say.
I don't think
Get that bird on the podcast.
A bird person.
Bird is a bird person. What do you mean he's not a bird person?
He's not very birdy.
Bird doesn't know anything about birds.
He's a rabbit person.
He's named Birdcatcher after a song.
Oh, okay. Then why is Lady Bird named... Wait a minute. Oh, she's
a reference to Bird, who's a song.
Okay, that makes sense.
She's a Miss Man.
I love this. I love the warning that was posted about this eagle. It's very good.
This warning is hilarious.
By the way, it is no longer a bald eagle in this warning. It is now a hippie eagle.
It's a full-on redneck eagle.
It's not a hippie eagle. That's a mullet.
Is that a mullet?
Yeah. For context, he posted a picture of a thing that says, "Attention, there's been multiple reports of aggressive eagles." But it has like a drawing of a very angry-looking eagle that has an American flag headband and just a huge 80s mullet up and around and through it. Just Kurt Russell as fuck. And
Kurt Russell, that is
it's a strange visual for the eagle you're warning people about, to be like, yeah, we're spreading democracy via being attacked by this eagle. Like, I don't. It's very, very strange. I don't know what they're going for with that one. Some things just don't make sense.
I kind of like the idea of animals becoming more aggressive to humans as time goes by.
Yeah.
I love that idea that like killer whales are just destroying yachts, birds are just attacking you senselessly. I love that because it becomes so like humans like to fight other humans. That's like what we love to do. The idea that the planet can become an antagonist to humanity is so funny. The imagine like, what do? We have to live on it, but how do we live on the thing that wants to kill us? Like actively, purposely, because you can't just kill all birds. You can't just kill all whales. Like this is a thing that would devastate. Well, but these are things that would actually have tangible side effects that would ruin your life. So you can't just wipe out.
Yeah, which is why we're only doing it by accident.
No, it's not by accident. We were pretending it's by accident, and while doing it on purpose.
We're doing it we're doing what we're doing on purpose, but it's not to kill all the birds.
Yeah, exactly.
No, it's just to kill all the birds. A side effect that we know about and don't care.
But I love that idea that, we'll get to a point maybe someday where going outside is a detriment because the animals and everything else outside, maybe even the trees, are just out to kill you. I love it. I love that. That's so funny because just imagine somebody like, I want to go get groceries or whatever. They walk outside, they forget to take their dumb camouflage on, and they just get impaled by like 15 different animals. Like we're just stepping outside as the purge for Earth. Like they will just
for humans.
Yeah, like it's 24/7. The purge is on, but only Earth gets to participate. No humans allowed. Humans are just are just victims. That's it. I love that. That's great. Anyways, good for this eagle. I hope it stays. I hope no one stops it. I hope it takes out maybe like 15 people before it's done. It hasn't killed anybody yet, though. So unfortunately, this bird is really behind the times. It's only caused stitches, but I'm rooting for it. It's got time to grow.
I'm glad that we all had bird discourse.
Mm-hmm. You didn't say your favorite bird, though, Keith.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, you did.
You did?
You don't even listen.
Yeah,
you don't even get to find out now.
I only remember the woodpecker. Your favorite bird is not as good as the woodpecker.
What?
How dare you?
What was it? I forget.
He's trying to bait me, but I'm not going to fall for it.
Was it a parrot?
He doesn't get to find out.
Was it a parrot? Keith loves it when Keith loves birds that mock him. He loves that. He loves when he says something and a bird turns around and just mocks him for saying the thing.
I forget. What was it?
Gonna have to watch the podcast now.
Parrot. That's fucking good. I think it's a parrot. In my heart, for Keith's favorite bird is a parrot.
What's your least favorite mechanic in your most favorite game?
Oh.
So we need to identify our most favorite game of this podcast first.
I hate when Rock Band added gimmicky things like the trill and stuff like that were like, they kept adding mechanics that were almost meant to like make certain sort of freestyle or spammy inputs like more reliable, but instead they would break my combo every single time. I think they added the.
I know what you mean. Okay.
A trill is when you alternate two notes rapidly on guitar / also in Guitar Hero and Rock Band and so on. And they added like a gimmicky, like, it doesn't matter, man, just do it vaguely at the speed. We're not going to break your combo. And those always broke my combo. And I think they also had one where you strum really rapidly, and that also somehow always broke my combo. I'm like, how do I do it right? How do I start and stop it right? I don't get it.
That dumb fucking game will interpret it will buffer the inputs you put in, and then it will still play it post not touching it. So
it just did the weirdest shit.
The strumming,
so it just pissed me off because the game
had such
a precision to them, and those options, I think those mechanics weren't optional, and they're just very annoying. And I'm like, please, just work. I also didn't really like the big band finish that much either in the first game. They kept picking songs that had big explosive endings, so you could sit there and do the big spammy, everybody hit all the buttons really rapidly for 20 seconds and ending, and it's just kind of boring. They clearly leaned away from them and just stopped picking songs that even would have them, but they clearly like picked a set list of songs for the Rock Band 1 that would lead to them consistently ending with those.
I have my favorite game being Baldur's Gate 3. And my least favorite mechanic is the mini games and puzzles that they put. Not that I don't like mini games and I don't like mini games, but the puzzles. Not that I don't like puzzles. It's just the ones they put are really bad, and I hate them. And I'm actually a little bit scared of doing them. Some of them actually kill your character, so I'm a little bit scared of doing them in honor mode. But I'll get through them because they're so absurdly like. Worse than the rest of the game. There's this one puzzle, you probably saw it already, Keith. This one puzzle where there's invisible platforms over darkness, and I think as the game shipped, if your character was strong enough to jump a certain gap, all you had to do is just literally click on the end platform, and your character would auto path over the invisible platforms. So that's how, and I think that's still how it works. I'm not sure if you have to trigger it or something, but and as I played it the first time, I saw the platforms in the shaders because I saw the darkness, and then there's these little lines. I'm like, wait, what is that? There's invisible platforms, and I knew immediately there were invisible platforms, and I still didn't fully understand what I was doing, and I died. That's the least. That's the least worst puzzle. The other ones I shut my mind off. I think that's an example. All the mini games, apart from potentially the first one, which is super simple, the first one in the game, which is you just rotate there's 4 things that rotate at the entrance to the Underdark underneath the goblins. That was fine. I am okay with that. Click on a thing 4 times, it's good, does it. But the mini games after, I hate that. And they have to just go back to riddles. Riddles were so nice in Baldur's Gate 2, in 1 as well. You just were asked fun little goofy riddles about, I have no doors and I'm white. What am I?
I'm gonna tell you a secret about riddles. There's not a lot of them. We have a finite amount of riddles.
Everyone wants to put a riddle in their thing, but they never want to write a riddle.
Yeah, I was gonna say everyone puts a riddle in the game,
like, and then I walk on 4 legs, then 2 legs, then 3 legs.
See, that's a good riddle. I like that.
It's not a good riddle because we've all heard it 1 million times. I think it's literally in The Hobbit.
It probably is. But it's so much better than the freaking invisible platform minigame, or the other one that you have to stealth through whatever.
I'm just so numb at this point. I'm just like, a riddle is the answer time.
Yeah.
I can't wait for the answer to be time again.
or nothing.
It's either
literally.
time or humans. Like it's never anything else.
But it's so much better than minigame or not minigames, but those puzzles.
I mean, to answer your question, there is a bad guy in Batman called the Riddler. Riddles are bad. Like they are bad things in this world. We associate them with evil. So maybe that's why they're not there. Maybe we're just moving on. We're progressing as a society. We have moved on. Riddles are bad. We can't keep doing this. You know, we're gonna get canceled if we have riddles.
Let's hope
now,
Larian
one of us tells the truth, the other one tells only lies. Which one of us is the truer?
Oh, but that's a neat. Those are logic puzzles. I like that. They're all right. It forces the player
I feel like
to.
The lady in the hat is sitting next to the lady that has a cat on Tuesdays.
Yeah, I like that. Dishonored 2 had one of those that you could skip if you went to a different place, but I just did it. An hour and a half.
I did it after I'd already been inside the building.
Oh yeah, I had the solution as well. I just did it because I
literally already explored most of the level, and then I find the front door. Because like, why would you ever walk up to the front door of a game in an immersive sim? I'm like, oh, there's a puzzle here, and I just solved the puzzle for no reason.
Yeah, it was fun. It was a fun. That's how you know that I hate the puzzles in Baldur's Gate 3, because I loved the one in Dishonored 2, and I know well, it just means that I love some puzzles. That's all it means. Okay, people can't accuse me of being a puzzle hater.
I'm excited.
Hater.
Yes, everyone call Colonel a puzzle hater in the comments.
This is slanderous.
Yeah, make sure everyone knows Colonel hates puzzles.
Yeah, he famously hates puzzles. Anti-puzzle man.
We can't stop him. He just keeps burning a new puzzle every day.
I love puzzles. I just hate puzzles in RPGs because RPGs aren't ever. They don't have a puzzle guy. Nobody's ready to make puzzles. They never have like somebody from Talos Principle or something on hand to like actually make good puzzles. So it's just Lights Out or Towers of Hanoi or 3, 4, 3, 2 legs.
Or Pipe Dream like they did.
Yeah. Hey, leave Pipe Dream alone. Pipe Dream's the best one.
I have played Towers of Hanoi in 2 different BioWare games.
I played Pipe Dream in probably every video game ever made.
Yeah. You'll be in the middle of playing a big AAA ultra cool crazy remix sequel version of Resident Evil 2, and then out of nowhere they'll hit you with there's 3 buckets and this water. And you're like, motherfucker, this is what you're bringing to the table in your remake.
I'm gonna say I think every game should just have poker. Just every game should just have a round of poker you have to play with no provocation, no reason why. Doesn't matter. Just in the middle of your game suddenly. Now. Yeah, just for no reason, just suddenly.
Caravan. Caravan.
Do you know how to play Caravan?
I do. Yeah.
You know how to play it. Like if someone walked up with cards, you would know how to play it right now.
I would know how to set it up. Yeah, I would. Yeah.
Okay. I don't know a single person who knows how to play Caravan.
I know. I think we've talked about it.
I knew how to play it for a minute. Like I know it got introduced at the beginning of Vegas, and I read the tutorial, and I played a game of Caravan, and then I never played another game of Caravan, and so I forgot. I don't remember how to play it now.
Oh. I bankrupt the Wasteland with Caravan.
Oh my god!
Yeah, it's such a powerful tool.
Yeah, it was economically devastating for people of New Vegas that I knew how to play Caravan.
I mean, you do that without playing card games.
Well, sure, but I meant more of like, I didn't do any violence. I showed up and people were like, hey, you want to play a game? And I was like, oh yeah, I do. And then they walked away poor. Like that was it. That was just no violence committed. They asked me to steal their money. They wanted to play this game. Okay. So, but no one else knows how to play Caravan. Anytime when I went to the stupid
appreciate
bar,
the gimmicky era where for like a decade there, pretty much like practically like I actually might be starting at Final Fantasy VIII, but my entry point was KOTOR. I think like from KOTOR to Witcher 3, every RPGs usually just had one overly involved game that you could kind of collect cards or items for throughout the entire playthrough as a side thing, and you just randomly get rewarded with stuff. So either you were like, that thing I don't care about, or you'd be like, oh shit, more Gwent cards. There's Gwent, there's Caravan. KOTOR had it had Pazak, which was a weird, it was weird space blackjack. So you collected different cards because you had built your own blackjack deck, which doesn't make sense for blackjack in a lot of ways. But you're like you would collect card modifiers and try to make a deck of what might be helpful and so on. That's all fun.
Yeah, the Final Fantasy 14's got triple triad.
It makes you feel like they cared.
Yeah, I like those.
I think triple triad's probably basically from Final Fantasy 8.
Probably. I couldn't tell you. I'm not a lore keeper.
I think that's where it's from. I started at 10.
But I think it's fun. I think it's a fun little game. I don't get mad when the cards come up. Mostly because I think I didn't get mad at the cards coming up after they added the way to return them into gold saucer points. That was nice. But yeah, no, I like that. I like the little mini games that are unique to the game, even if it is just a game. It's not like a brand new game ever made, but I like the idea that there's a in-world game, a diegetic game that everyone in the world, like Gwent is a good example of that, or Caravan. I love when you just show up and someone's like, we're playing a card game. You're like, oh, there's people here. There's like people making entertainment. That's cool. That's nice. It's a really good touch of realism. But yeah, it's probably hard, probably difficult to do that.
It just feels like they cared. I don't think developing a mini game sequence that you then lace throughout your entire RPG is particularly involved. I think it's just I just think that someone has to care enough to want to like do it and actually do a little bit of game design and like a bit like inventing an actual tabletop game kind of. And also crucially, their overlords have to like greenlight them even working on it and care about that kind of detail.
I was gonna say you like project management in video games is so fucking abysmal. They can't even get the games out. You want them to make a game in a game? That seems a little more difficult. It's very. I imagine there's like a million of these, right? You could probably go to any major game studio, and I bet you there's a cabinet full of mini games that never got made. No, I bet you Bethesda
always has the same one.
No, Bethesda. I guarantee you. I promise you, with all of my heart and soul, that Bethesda keeps the same mini game because of fucking Todd Howard. There's no other reason for it. I bet you that company probably has a fucking giant vault of mini games that were made for their video games, and Todd came over and said, "No."
Are you ready to do a 5-minute word search of random messes of letters so you could hack a computer? It's your reward for having a hacking skill is that you get to suffer the hacking mini game instead of not being able to hack.
I'm gonna be honest with you. That hacking mini game is actually genuinely good at its goal. It is so good. It is very good at keeping people out of computers because most people don't even want to fucking bother learning the rules. A lot of people just straight up ignore that computer or they learn the skill to instantly unlock it. Like nobody wants to play that mini game, and I think that's a really good security tool. The fact that no one wants to play it is a good good security policy.
Yeah, I said that in my series, and of course that means that all the contrarians, like it's obviously not like a consensus, but the moment you complain about something like that, literally all you hear from is the people who disagree. You're like, no, I love the hacking mini game, and those people are insane.
I mean,
you literally lose hours of your playthrough to staring at that stupid grid of text and being like, oh, there's 3 letters in common with the one you got. Keep searching all of them and counting the letters for another 10 minutes.
I agree with that. It's worse than that. It's mechanically a bad minigame because it is a minigame made for it's literally a minigame made for you putting that in a book. It's a book minigame. It's where you look, because a lot of the gameplay of that minigame is you looking at the screen. You're not actually playing a game. You're just looking at the thing. You're trying to suss it out, obviously, but you're looking. That's why it's so bad, and it's why it feels.
You mean
so
there's no interaction?
There's no interaction. Yeah, I mean,
reading?
you can move the. Because you can move the characters around.
No, it's a word search.
Yeah, it's a word search.
Yeah,
they have that thing where you can look for.
At least when you do the lockpicking mini games in most of these games, you're just like tick tick tick. Damn it!
Yeah, you're doing things.
Do I get it?
Basis. It's the basis of a game. He's being able to do things.
Increased skill makes the minigame more forgiving and so on.
Yeah.
But
that's why
there's no curbing the code game because your skills don't make it. Your skills don't make the screen have less text. They don't in any way improve things. You still have to play the exact same minigame and whatever weird trivia people have, like, oh, if you look for this icon, it actually gives you more lives or whatever the fuck nonsense people said. That I don't know how they knew that stuff, and the game never tells you that stuff, or how I don't know how you're supposed to figure out the weird tricks to that minigame. Yeah, but none of those minigames fix the part where you have to play the minigame.
Yeah,
also those skills should be part of your. Shouldn't those parts, those like upgrades or whatever, those gimmicks, shouldn't those be part of your skill? Shouldn't those be tied to you increasing your skill? Why are they just there the whole time and unrelated to you having a skill? What?
That's the funniest thing is that when you get better at, that's what I'm saying, it's such a good security tool because all it does, no matter what, you can't bypass that, right? Either you know the password or you fucking have to hack it. There is no other way. You don't get like I'm level 60, I'm allowed to just auto hack or whatever. No. Get your fucking ass in the terminal. Like, that is fucking hilarious. I love the idea that no matter how intelligent you are in this world, you have to go through that shitty fucking goddamn crossword puzzle. Everyone has to do it. It's such a good security system. Yeah, for multiple games. It's funny as well, okay, look, they didn't change the system. You know how hard it is to make an operating system? Everyone's sticking to with the one that works. If we all died today, Windows is going to be around forever, like in perpetuity.
Windows is barely surviving now.
No, it isn't.
While it's actively being updated, it's like falling apart.
Okay, but guess the only way that Mac survives is if every fucking fragile baby boy MacBook makes it through the apocalypse. They will not. Only Windows machines will make it through, or maybe that one Linux machine that a guy fucking put 400 stickers on so it's able to block radiation for some reason. But every fucking machine that would survive an apocalypse, every machine that would survive an apocalypse is going to be a fucking Windows machine. Mac will not survive an apocalypse. They cannot. Like, just on principle. Macs will die. They need a prissy, prim world to exist in. They cannot survive otherwise.
Without the permission from Apple to exist, they'll self-destruct.
It pretty much, yeah. Windows is bad, but it's bad because no one cares about it. Mac is bad because someone is helicopter parenting it. They're both bad for the opposite reasons. But either way, it's very funny that hacking minigame. Also, Mandy is incredibly good at it. Like, just savant level at it. I will sit and like stare for a couple of minutes. She's like, "Oh, you're still here?" I'm like, "What do you mean?"
For all the true hacking friends, all the true hacking fans, they should just make a hacking game for them, a different video game.
Well, okay,
and then stop torturing the rest of us with garbage design.
Have you seen Bethesda? They got hacked multiple times already, so clearly they are themselves the big hacking game.
They're training their audience too well. It's just a rookie mistake for them. I hate it. I'm trying
to think. What is...
You haven't come up with an answer yet? You fool.
Yeah, like, what is a mechanic in a...
It needs to be your favorite game, and then the least favorite mechanic in that game.
Well, that's what I'm struggling with, is like my favorite game is going to be like Banjo-Kazooie. And if I could think of a single thing I don't like about Banjo-Kazooie, it might be the mumbo thing. It's really annoying that you have to. I think the idea of Mumbo's magic doesn't make any. It doesn't matter to the world. It has no value narratively, and there is no consistency to the transformations either. It's not as if.
And you also can't just like use them. You don't just like unlock a transformation and get to use them either. It's like you have to keep going back to him every time.
Correct. But it's tied to a world, which means that like you can only be a pumpkin in the haunted house, and it's like, oh, okay, but why? Like, I like the idea that you could become a pumpkin that is immune to fall damage. That's cool as fuck. Could you imagine the places that you could use that and the advantages you could gain in different level designs by saying, hey, if your character's immune to falling, guess where you can find a guy? Like, that's cool.
Yeah, so your character doesn't have an expanding moveset because you don't get to keep anything.
Correct. Or again, alternatively, I would also be better with Mumbo giving you the moveset rather than the mole. Like, it would be cool as hell if Mumbo like did a spell on you and he's like, I don't know what it did, and then suddenly you can just like shoot eggs at your ass. That would be funny as hell. Like, what a
So
what a
painful.
silly little world. Yeah, but like but in their current stance, it just feels weird. It feels like like if you took them all out, if you made Banjo-Kazooie without those, I would still love Banjo-Kazooie as much as I do. I don't think that they are a pillar of that game. And
my least favorite
really
thing about
tough.
Banjo-Kazooie is that all the sounds that Kazooie makes are burned into my brain.
I think that's a benefit. I mean,
just every single fucking ability. We need to play Banjo-Tooie still.
oh god,
The game you hate.
I don't like Banjo-Tooie. I actually talked about this yesterday.
Because we did our series on Banjo-Kazooie like years ago at this point, where it was just you hanging out while I play the game, and then we'll play Nuts and Bolts.
Okay, Nuts and Bolts is pretty good if you pretend like all the maps are. If you pretend all the maps are 4 times smaller than they actually are, Nuts and Bolts is pretty okay.
So if you lie.
If you lie to yourself, if you like blank out driving in giant, vast, empty fields for like 5 minutes, if you can cut that out of your brain, Nuts and Bolts is pretty fun. I like the idea that you can just make a nightmare car and then drive around and do nightmare things with it. It's fun. I like that.
I guess if you go to my other favorite games like Dark Souls 2 and Mass Effect 1, it's inventory. Most RPGs just don't need the kind of inventory stuff they have, and that's just. I think most RPGs, like the Diabloification of things is usually bad, just having too much loot in some way or another, but it's two very different things. In this case, Dark Souls 2 is just the same blanket thing that I say about all of the entire From Software universe, which is that they should stop having upgrade items. Upgrade items are dumb. You should just, like, their initial purpose is that as you get into further zones of the game, you start getting Titanite +2s or whatever. And you're like, oh, damn, it's the next tier of upgrade items. I can now finally have weapons that are this strong. But you can accomplish that by just actually getting, like, a power upgrade of some kind that's permanent. Having individual spendable upgrade items, like, yes, once you start finding the first one, you're now, like, in a threshold of the campaign where you're going to find way more of them, but not nearly enough. So you can't like upgrade several different items to be at the same level and swap between them and experiment freely. And if you take a risk on an item that you think might be cool and then spend all the items upgrading it, then you try testing it against bosses, and then you realize, oh, this feels garbage for reasons that you can't like calculate preemptively. You just lost all those items. And that's like a big pie slice that's gone out of all of the upgrade items you have that playthrough, and that sucks. It kills experimentation. What's the point of having 500 million items in each playthrough if you can't even like play around with them to see which ones might be good? So I think upgrade items should be gone, and they should have a more universal upgrade for your character to control power stuff and let you freely swap between weapons that seem like they might do well. They can still keep like the scaling and like have build diversity in that way, where there's certain weapons that work better with different character types. But why when I as a Faith Dex character in Elden Ring and I keep finding more Faith Dex items, am I afraid to use them? That's stupid. In Mass Effect 1's case, it's way more obvious. Its inventory was bad. The screen for its inventory only fits like 3 items total for some reason, even though it's just the name of the weapon. And the weapons are just like the Furiosa 7 and stuff like that over and over again. And
it's bad.
Not only does each category of weapon. Not only is each, like, you just pick the category of weapon you like and stick with it the whole playthrough, basically. So you'll just, if you're using the Mercer 2, you'll just hold on to that until you find a Mercer 3. So it's like, it's inherently deeply uninteresting. But you drop 500 million items that are all duplicates of each other. So you'll when you go to the vendor and have to sell them, you'll have so many fucking Mercer 3s and Mercer 4s. And you're like, well, why do I have 7 of these? What's the point of dropping that many? They don't do anything different for each other. It's just currency farming. But then you're also like, that's the thing, is it doesn't even have like the level of randomization and like permutation as like a Diablo or a Borderlands. It's just the same weapon 100 times with 0 variations. It's like this one's like a +1 or this one's on fire. Like it's just the same exact one way too many times.
Yeah.
The inventory is garbage, but crucially and worst of all, and it's the same sin that Control commits, that game that people say the gameplay is good in, you can run out of inventory space.
Yeah, that was the worst.
So you get 1 million. You get 1 million fucking Hydra 3s, and then you're like, "Oh, my inventory's full. I have to go do a trip to sell these, so I can keep picking up items because I need to be able to pick up items so the actual upgrades when they do finally arrive can be picked up." And similarly, it's like Control did that thing where there's 500. You could equip like 3 shards or whatever the fuck those nodes were that you could equip. But every fight you did dropped multiple new shards that were just duplicates of the same old ones over and over again. Oh, plus 2% damage and stuff like really boring stats. But you needed to keep like unclogging your spam folder of your email in that game so that you could then actually pick up the new ones, because you had to keep picking them up all playthrough because eventually they'd be better. I hate it. Every game that does that is bad and should literally scrap the entire system because it serves no purpose.
Dragon Age did the same thing, and it was the worst thing.
So would you be open to the idea? Would you be open to the idea
a game like
that
Control should literally just drop every single upgrade once in its best form as a reward for a specific side quest or boss fight, and that's the only way to get it. And then they're just swappable, customizable builds.
It's character specific.
Yeah, it'd be more akin to like what I've heard about Deus Ex, where it gives you like capsules, and then you make a binary choice between 2 things of which upgrade you want for that playthrough, and that's it. Like that kind of system should exist in games. Customizing your build and being able to make a cool character is cool, but having to fucking pick through loot pinata detritus for half of your playthrough doesn't actually facilitate that. That's an unnecessary step. It's way cooler. Every game should be more like Zelda. Zelda needs to be more like Zelda because Zelda stopped being Zelda in Skyward Sword and then fully abandoned it in Breath of the Wild. But it used to be that you'd explore areas and beat bosses or do side quests and be like, oh, "Holy fuck! I got a bottle. That's huge. I can carry another fucking fairy. There's only 4 of these in the whole fucking video game. That's good. That's good video game. I want more games that do that instead of pick up 700 beetles." Wow, Skyward Sword, show me the animation of where this beetle goes in my inventory. Wow, that's where the beetle goes. So glad I picked up a beetle and had to watch a 30-second animation about picking up a beetle where you pause my game and show me that I picked up a beetle in excruciating detail. What does the beetle do, Skyward Sword? Can you tell me? It's like the fucking reward is so separated from the process of getting the thing that you don't even remember getting it by the time you find a place to spend it. And you're like, this isn't satisfying. Oh, I guess this shield, 17 hours later, this guy says that if I want to upgrade my shield, I need 3 beetles and 2 ropes. I don't remember picking up beetles and ropes. I guess I have enough. Okay. Stupid system. Garbage. Garbage video game for that reason. Skyward Sword had a pretty good dungeon and boss design and stuff and was fun in that way. Those systems are bad in every game that does them. I'm so mad that the good example of that system is Zelda, and even they don't do it anymore. It's so fucking annoying. There, you got your rant about a mechanic. It came from Mass Effect and went all the way to Zelda.
Would you be more open to the idea that you upgrade a piece of a weapon that can transfer that
like
that
Eliza
is like
P. hilt?
Yeah. Like the Liza P. hilt, where you say, like, look, I'm going to make one part of this weapon the max, and then you can just customize the top however you want it, right? I want a fire weapon, so here's a fire hilt, and then I can make the top whatever, a hammer, a baseball bat, a dildo. Like, I don't give a shit. All that matters. No?
I think
you just don't want it.
I didn't like
all.
Liza P. system. It's better in that you get to customize things and do cool stuff with that, but it's not what I'm talking about. Because it's still not universal. Okay. You still have a limited number of resources that you can run out of by putting them into certain objects, and like it's not like upgrading a handle or a weapon gives you like infinite permutations to play around with. Like both those things are very limited. Like this weapon always the blade always does the same thing and always has the same length, and the handle always has the same moveset, and you can't get away from that. So if you stop liking you still put your resources into that and you're stuck.
So let's take it back one more further then. So if you did so let's go with, let's say there's only one handle, right? You just get the base component of a weapon. And you can just put that every weapon in the game functions based on that base component. So if again you want whips, okay, I feel like have to have the one base component.
I basically just need shadow tree fragments.
Okay,
just keep just keep the shadow tree fragments, but get rid of the weapon upgrades altogether, and just have it be the shadow tree fragments. And now you can just use whatever weapons fit your build, which is like 50.
I think the principle to upgrade your weapons is sort of tied to JRPGs do that every once in a while. I'm not a big JRPG fan, so I don't have first-hand experience, but it's like when you need to, not only do you level up your character, you level up your skills and you level up your abilities and all. Like there's a bunch of level ups tied to making a build. And in Dark Souls, you level up your weapons, and that's, it's a different sort of experience that you get, but it's in different items that allow you to do that. But it's still basically what happens with the weapon upgrades. And if you look at it in those terms, being required to level up a new weapon makes total sense because you're like respecking. You're like, oh, let me level up.
It just gets
this
increasingly absurd the further you get into like Elden Ring, where it's like a 500 hour playthrough, and like every item that drops is still +0.
Yeah,
you're like, what the
exactly?
Fuck are you doing?
That's the problem.
It's like why are you doing that? Stop.
Exactly. You
literally can't even just pick up the weapon and use it to see if it's good, because it's a baby version of itself that you need to earn the full version of it. It's so stupid.
Yeah, it's literally trying weapons in Elden Ring is fighting the air. That's how you try the weapon. You don't need to go fight the enemies, because if you do, what are you going to find out? Nothing.
It's very frustrating. The way I see it is that progress, it should be permanent, and tinkering is for fun. And you need to divorce those systems. Stop making them the same system. Like being able to give your weapon different weapon arts and different element infusions and so on, and tinkering it with that way in the Lies of P and Dark Souls way, that part's good.
Yes.
Increasing its stats linearly via an upgrade that you run out of is stupid.
I think every, especially RPGs like this, like that have weapons or different types of weapons, there should always be a training room in the hub world somewhere that you can go to.
I don't even want that.
To play around with weapons.
It's good to have the feature. It's good to have a training dummy like in WoW or whatever. But I also I can't fighting it's like running around in the fucking Overwatch training course doesn't tell me how good of character is at all, or how they're gonna feel in a match.
No, but
at all.
I
never
know
actually
what the fuck it
helps
does.
me.
Like,
yeah, it's good to test the thing. Like Lies of P has a little training dummy right outside. That's nice. It's good to have the ability to fight nothing instead of having to use it in a real fight. But it's still just never helpful enough, because it doesn't actually teach me how it interacts with the thing that's attacking me. So I never know whether I'll like a weapon until after I've tried it for a while.
Yeah, but if there's no risk, right? If you just had, like say you go to a training room and it lets you just spawn an enemy, like just spawn a regular normal enemy that gives you no experience or whatever, so you can test it out on. That's what I think would just be the best option there, is that you can just swing your dumb weapon in a non-risk environment, see how it goes, and then just move on. It's like the Devil May Cry thing. When you can test out moves, you just go to like a weird void. Like that's good. You should do that. You should, like, most games should have
weird voids in gaming, please.
Yeah. more weird weapon tryout voids. I like that, because it helps. It does genuinely help to just engage with something, because you're not going to take a risk, right? Especially like Dark Souls. I'm not going to fucking dump like 15k of souls into a weapon I'm going to hate. And I'm not going to like take a level 0 weapon and go all the way back to the beginning of the game and start whipping enemies with it. Like, that's dumb.
Actually, I think that is the other problem that that weapon upgrade systems create, is that it makes it it's like the game, they allow the game's rubbish weapons to be better, right? So so basically, in theory, you're capable of playing with whatever weapon you like, and it makes it so that the cool weapons don't, like the weapons that, it's not a short sword, it's freaking Astoria's great sword or whatever. those cool weapons have less of an impact. It makes the rewards that you get out of, I suppose that it's also tied to the fact, particularly for me, that the fact that I just play with the same weapon all throughout the game, it doesn't matter. But it just means that when you get the cool weapons at the end of the game, not just because those weapons are not upgraded, but particularly because your weapon is upgraded. You're not looking for an upgrade. You're just, oh, there's this. Did you know that this game has other weapons? It's like the game telling you, hey, did you know there's an Albert in this game? Did you know there's this thing? And on a blind playthrough, that's cool. The first time you play Dark Souls, that's kind of cool. You find, wait, there's an Albert in this game? I'm into that. There's a crossbow that shoots 3 times? Well, that's cool. I try that. And so it is interesting on a first playthrough. But for a series, it loses its luster, because especially not just for a series, for a company that puts the same weapons in every game, because we've been playing with the Claymore since Demon Souls. It's the same weapon. And it's fine. I like that. I like the Claymore, but still the same weapon, right?
Yeah. They're changing up the movesets a bit, and then also obviously adding the weapon arts and whatever updates to the moveset that they've made universally too. But
but by the time, what I'm trying to say is that by the time
you're not going to be like, what? This game has whips, when you've already had whips in the last 4 games.
Yeah. But the thing is,
and none of them are a bladed cane whip like in Bloodborne, so what's the point?
But at the end of Elden Ring, you're going to be getting new weapons, because the bosses still drop weapons, and you find stuff in exploration. And all of it is just a collectionist, for me anyway, it's just for collectionism. It isn't to actually try. And if the trying new weapon thing is done before I even create a character and think of what weapon will I play with, and then I beeline to yeah. I mean, that's what I did in my second playthrough of Elden Ring, or the one that I'm doing off camera. Is I decide, okay, what do I want to play with? I want to play with bleed weapons. Okay, what is the best build? What is the weapon that I need to go for? And I just sort of that was where I went to right at the start, and got that weapon, and I played the game with that, because why would I play with the other things? It's easy this way.
Interesting. I always do it on the fly. I'll change my weapon constantly in Souls games, and then maybe it's just figure out the one that I want. No, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of people who don't do that.
My struggle is I'm always like in level mode where I'm playing the level, and so I'll just forget most of the items I picked up, and I'll have to remember to check my inventory to even see what I found lately. And then I'll have to spend time thinking about do I want to even experiment with these weapons? There's so many of them, and they're probably all gonna suck.
I do love that new feature that they added.
Yeah, sort by new, because for a long time there in Elden Ring, every time you picked up new items, they just were lost to the void. It's like, they're somewhere in the 5 million item amalgam nightmare inventory, and I'll never find them again. And you could sort by acquisition date, but it's so clunky and awkward to press that many buttons to do it, and
And no, it's sorted by acquisition date, but there's no all. Oh, there is an all items. Right.
Yeah, I just my main thing is, but the problem is that I don't think it shows you. It only shows you inventory items. It does not show you equipment. So if you get I like the new one because it shows you if you get the.
I think that is the case. I think the all tab means all. It doesn't actually mean all. It means all items and not your gear.
That's
there's a bunch of limitations to the thing that makes it hard to actually recall what you picked up lately, and you have to manually shift every individual menu into the alternate setting, and you probably always click the wrong stick first, which makes the inventory hide itself. And you're like, no, not that one. You're trying to remember which stick to click to awkwardly bring up the menu to then click the setting, and then it always sorts in chronological order the opposite way you think it will, so you have to then scroll to the top, then skip to the bottom. It's annoying as possible, basically.
And then every item, especially the ones that you actually want to check, things like amulets or keys, that you never know if it's an amulet or is it a helmet or is it a consumable. So finding what type of item it even was, it's a pain.
It's a very cobbled together inventory nightmare that feels like it was added at the last minute and was never really meant to be used as often as you probably do end up trying to use it.
Yeah, for sure.
By the end of the playthrough, you're just like, someone save me from this fucking screen. I'm so sick of trying to use it to do things.
But it's better now, so.
Yeah. It is better now.
It's somewhat better now. It still has the, if you're somebody who's trying to read inventory descriptions, it still has the struggle thing, which is that it marks things as new until the moment you highlight it. But all console games have the universal problem where the act of scrolling requires highlighting everything in the process that's in your way. So you're just trying to like look around at the menu, and in the process you're marking everything as red. You're like, no, I didn't read it though. Now I have to remember which things I scrolled through, and you're just gonna lose them again. And so you'll just forget to check things. It's just that we've never found clean solutions for having an inventory or really anything that you scroll through where things are marked as red, be they codex entries or journal entries and so on, where on a console the only, and this is self-inflicted because they could just use the other stick to scroll or something, but they always make you scroll by highlighting things one at a time down the list, and so you can only go down the list by highlighting things, and the act of highlighting things marks things as red. I've seen a few games where like it'll be like a journal or something, and it only marks things as red when you click on it, because when you click on it, it actually opens the thing to read it, and if you don't do that, it doesn't consider it red. But I've played a bunch of games where like, here's your 75 new Dragon Age Codex entries or whatever, and as you scroll down to the one that you're trying to read, every single one you scroll past is all marked as red now, and you're like, fuck.
All they have to, you're correct in saying that it's tricky, but all they have to do really is add one of these two buttons, and possibly even two. Add a mark as red button or a mark as unread button, or both, because that's the thing. You just scroll down
features.
But they don't like
instead
features.
Of having no features.
I will say while I do appreciate the inventory system that shows you the most recent you've acquired, I fucking hate the notification of new things on interfaces.
Would you like to not be able to play the game?
I just don't. I hate when I open a menu and it has a yellow dot or something, and I go like, okay.
That's what you mean.
What?
I thought you meant the pop-up when you get a new item. Sorry.
No, just I hate when you open like a compendium and it's like, haha, there's one thing that's tagged, and you can't just sort by new. You have to scroll through a shit ton of things to find the one highlighted
you don't
yellow
like
thing.
Being told that stuff's new at all.
No, I don't want the little visual notification. If something is new, I want to be able to go to the thing that I know has new stuff, or maybe has new stuff and I haven't noticed it yet. Go to it and then just have an option that shows the newest by just like, show newest acquired audio log or whatever. I don't want to scroll through 400 lines of audio logs to get to the new audio log to listen to it, or worse, just to highlight the damn thing so it doesn't have a dumb UI icon. Because Liza P did this, where it's like, you need to go, like every time I went into one menu, it always had this yellow dot on it. And I'm like, what do you want? And I went into it and I scrolled through everything. It still had the yellow dot. And I was like, I don't know how to get rid of it. There's just a dot here permanently. I can't get rid of. And it was obnoxious. It's like a notification on a phone where you're like, just go away. It makes me want to look at it. And I don't want to look at it. I don't like that kind of UI design. I don't like stuff that distracts me from playing the game. If I'm trying to do something, someone shouting in my face doesn't make me excited. Like having a thing that's like, something new's here, come here. I'm like, fuck off. I'm trying to do something. I don't want to go over there and click on it, but I have an urge to do it. And so it's annoying. I don't like that. I don't like that stuff. It makes me look at your game negatively. It's just, you need better UI design. Go away. But it happens everywhere. It's awful. I don't.
Mm-hmm.
What's wrong with you people? It's all you people's fault.
You monsters.
It's not my problem. I clearly don't want it. So everyone else who does, they're the problem. Just, a lot of UI stuff like that though. But okay.
Alrighty. Well, we're out of time for today, everybody.
That's pretty good. 3 questions last time too. So I think that's a consistent. Seems to be a consistent thing. Well, do we have 4 questions today? We did.
Answered more.
We did like one question last time.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought we did 3 questions last time.
There was like one question that was like 2 seconds long, and then as a joke at the beginning, and then We did one question for the rest of it. This one we also had a joke question at the beginning, and then we did 3. Yeah, basically after that, which is better.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
We had a fun discussion, which somehow involved Mass Effect again, for multiple questions again.
Yeah,
some point of reference for everything.
I think about Mass Effect too much, even though I don't. I played it like 3 or 4 times at launch, and then I played it once for my little reunion tour when the other one was coming out in like 2016 or 17. Haven't touched it since. It's just in there.
Oh.
It's just burned in there. Mm-hmm. Anyway, guys, see you guys later. Bye-bye. And if you want to ask questions, check my community tab. You can check my community tab probably sometime around like Saturday or Sunday. And I'll probably, if I remember to make a new post that week for new questions, otherwise I'll just check the old post from earlier, which is older in the community tab. If you don't have so you're either on a platform where the community tab shows up or you're not. I don't know, man. YouTube's weird. It's just a different site on every platform. I give up. But this
okay.
People post here. I got there's 36 responses to this this previous post, which is much better than our history of getting emails. So I guess this is the new system.
Makes sense. I think I think modern day people don't use email anymore to send in things. Most people don't even want to use email at their jobs. So
no,
I agree with that. I hate using email at my job.
Comments are better. Comments feel like drive-by
Slack. It's fine.
Shouts.
Yeah, it's a variation on like previous times where I'd be like, I don't know what we're gonna talk about this time. I'm just gonna stream, and then chat will say something, and then that'll be what we riff off of, which happened a few times. Mm-hmm. I just like email for the reason I gave a minute ago, which is that you can just have them stacked up, and you can mark them as read and move them around and like files, and it's just it's very handy. Email is a decent way to organize certain things without that's less the work than other ways of having to try to be organized. But fuck being organized. Let's just open the floodgates every week and I'll just read some of them. Fuck it. This time I sorted these last 2 times I sorted by chronologically and answered them the ones that came in first, but next time who knows? Might be crazy.
Oh.
I might be a wacky boy. Mm-hmm. Anyway, bye.
So you gotta Bye.